Hi, it's Joe Levine on the line. I first want to start with acknowledging my colleagues on this effort, Dan Winterhalter, who recently retired as the chief scientist of NASA's Engineering and Safety Center, and Dr. Russell Kirschman, who's a medical doctor who was the chief of Space Biosciences Division at NASA Ames Research Center. Next, please. I want to start the talk on lunar dust and its impact on human exploration with two quotes, and I think these two quotes are very important because they talk about an important issue. This is from Gene Cernan, the last one of the last two humans to walk on the moon on Apollo 7. Quote, "I think dust is probably one of the greatest inhibitors to a nominal operation on the moon. I think we can overcome other physiological or physical or mechanical problems except dust. One of the most aggravating, restricting facets of lunar dust exploration is the dust and its adherence to everything, no matter what kinds of material, whether it be skin, suit material, metal, no matter what it be, and its restrictive friction-like action to everything it gets on. And this problem continues once we leave the surface of the moon. Next, please. Next slide. This is from Alan Bean. After Apollo 12 astronaut Alan Bean, after lunar liftoff, a great quantity of dust floated free within the cabin. This dust made breathing without the helmet difficult, and enough particles were present in the cabin atmosphere to affect our vision. The use of a wisp broom prior to ingress would probably not be satisfactory in solving the dust problem because the dust tends to rub deeper into the garment rather than to brush it off. Next. Next slide, please. The impact of dust on human exploration of the moon, on the astronauts, their equipment, and so on, has been the title of several studies. And let me refer to Jim Gayer's study, which is a NASA technical memorandum. Jim relates lunar dust to 9 different kinds of problems. Vision obscuration. You remember on Apollo 11, Neil Armstrong had some difficulty because the rocket exhausts were causing so much dust to be put into the thin lunar atmosphere that he had trouble seeing the surface. Then there's false instrument readings, dust coating and contamination, loss of traction, clogging of mechanisms, abrasion. In fact, the lunar dust was so abrasive that had the Apollo astronauts wanted to go on an additional EVA, the spacesuits may not have been capable of protecting them. That's how much abrasion there was on the suit. Thermal control problems, failures of seals, and inhalation and irritation. During the debriefings, all of the astronaut debriefings, there are several hundred detailed references to the impact of dust on the astronauts and their equipment and the mission, and that's summarized in Jim Gayer's paper. Next, please. Some key questions that need investigation. What are the particle size distribution, mineralogy / chemical composition, and possible toxicity of lunar dust, especially for the particles less than 50 microns? Second, what processes / mechanisms control the transport / dynamics of lunar surface dust? Number 3, what are the electrical and magnetic properties of lunar dust? And number 4, what techniques / technologies are needed to reduce / mitigate lunar dust impacts on the astronauts, their equipment, habitats, and spacecraft? So these were some of the key problems that appeared in the literature. Next, please. Now, in order to address this problem, On February 11th to 13th, NASA's Engineering and Safety Center sponsored a meeting, a workshop called Lunar Dust and Its Impact on Human Exploration. It was sponsored by NESC, the Lunar Planetary Institute, University Space Research Association, JPL, and the College of William and Mary. Next slide, please. We divided after the first day of the workshop, we had a series of invited plenary papers. And what's interesting is the plenary papers were given by four people who were four of the people who presented papers, invited plenary papers at our meeting, are actually on this meeting today. Samuel Lawrence, Michael Johansson, Mihaly Harani, and Phil Metzger. And Brian O'Brien's name was mentioned. Brian, who passed away August 7th, was our lead-off plenary speaker at the meeting. After the first day, and in the first day we addressed a series of knowledge gaps, things we don't understand. Each plenary speaker was asked to identify what's known and what's not known. And in a minute, I'll show you a reference to their papers because it's all online. Panel 1 dealt with the composition, structure, and distribution of lunar dust. Panel 2, the impact of lunar dust on human health, which was led by Russ Kirschman, a medical doctor. Panel 3, the impact of lunar dust on human surface systems and operations and technologies to reduce/mitigate these effects. Daniel Winterhalter and Michael Johansson. We spent 2 days in these panels, at least 8 hours a day, addressing these issues. Next slide, please. Now, the general information on the workshop is that first reference, general information, but the program and abstracts and the invited plenary speakers, 11 of them, produced extended abstracts up to 5 pages. In addition, we had a whole bunch of contributed abstracts, and everything is online, and that's on the second reference there. Next, please. Now, there are 2 products of the workshop. The first is the NASA Engineering and Safety Center report, which summarizes in 35 pages the workshop findings and, more important, the recommendations for NASA. That is scheduled to be released in September 2020. The report was finished. It's now undergoing the NASA review process. In addition, the proceedings of the workshop is scheduled to be published in January 2021. So I just want to summarize that lunar dust, in addition to being an interesting scientific area to study, has some very, very significant impacts on human exploration. And as we're preparing for the second round of human exploration of Mars, we have to really get serious about solving the problems of dust mitigation and reduction. Thank you. So I gave you a minute to pick up on your time.
Thanks, Joel.